Hello, welcome back. My name is Charlie, and I have always been a comic book reader. I've always considered myself someone who reads comics. I grew up reading a good amount of comic books, and I've just kind of always read them here and there throughout my life. In the past few years, I got way more into reading like books, and so comic books kind of fell to the wayside. But this past year, I have read a ton of comic books. I've gotten way back into the hobby, definitely largely in part due to having my second kid and just having no time for sitting down with a book, but having time to sit down with a 15-minute issue of a comic book. So I'm back into reading comic books in a big way, and these are the comics that I have to thank for that. In January this year, I picked up Bug Wars. I buddy read this with a few people, and we had a blast. It's this like really fresh take on a lot of familiar ideas. It's like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids meets war. It's like, I don't know, warring factions of these tiny bug-like people riding on actual bugs into battle, all kind of happening around a boy who's trying to find out answers about his deceased father, and like what he was up to before he died and why he died by getting seemingly like eaten alive by a bunch of bugs. Just wild concept, but handled in a really fun way. This doesn't make you think very hard. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It's a short little thing, and it was really fun, and it kind of just reminded me what comic books can be. It was a good entryway. And then I went the next month into something completely different. A friend of mine had recommended The Girl and the Galdurian, which is Lightfall #1. This is, I think, targeted at like middle grade or young adult like kind of groups or age ranges, but ignore that. Like it's only that because it's not like gory and they don't swear, and it's but whatever. Beyond that, this is fantastic. Anybody should read that. I feel like the rating, or like the age rating, is gonna deter people, but it shouldn't. Maybe I shouldn't have even mentioned it. Bug Wars is kind of big scale things, but set at a really small scale, right? Because it's these bug people, like shrunken down people, and they're fighting against a lawnmower, essentially, right? Is the thing that threatens them. And in Lightfall, the scope is just a lot larger. We're talking about a whole planet, and everybody's kind of battling against the threat of eternal darkness, as this, the bad guys are kind of threatening to tear down their manufactured suns and just shut it all down. So the stakes are really high, and the cast is awesome. The characters in this, there's a lot of great character development here, especially with our main like two characters, but kind of a lot of the side characters. You really get a feel for kind of who they are and what their motivations are, and you're rooting for all of them essentially. This again is a really easy read though. I got through this in a couple sittings. It's a bit thicker, but because it is geared towards a younger audience in some ways, I guess it is really quick. Something I really appreciated in this book is the display of anxiety. Like they show the main character's anxiety in a really cool way. They turn her emotional anxiety into like this physical presence around her, which it doesn't seem like anybody else can see. Like it is still in her head, but if she's she's scared and she can't move, it'll show like these tendrils kind of holding her in place. It's just like a really cool way of displaying anxiety and showing kind of, when somebody comes over and talks to her, the tendrils kind of loosen up and go away a little bit as the anxiety starts to fade. Things like that. Really, really neat. The art is gorgeous here. This was great, and I tore through the first one in a couple days, and then the next month I picked up the next one, and then the third one, and now I just picked up the fourth from my library. I'm pointing at it because it's right there. Just picked up the fourth from my library the other day. It's A really great series. The fourth one just came out fairly recently, a couple months ago maybe. I'm only just getting around to it now, but I'm very excited about it. So I did my toes in a little bit, right, with these, and I was having fun. And I was realizing like, oh yeah, I can do this. I can sit down with these and get through an issue here and there. And then I remembered that you can read comic books digitally. And what was I doing a ton at the beginning of this year? Contact naps, which is me with a baby strapped to my chest, sleeping in a dark room, and I'm just awake because I'm too nervous to fall asleep if the baby's here, and then everything's bad. So what I can do is I can bring my tablet into the room and I can just read comic books while he sleeps. Incredible, mind blowing. My whole world was expanded. So what I did was I got some Nightwing comic books at the recommendation of my friend Sam Harrison, who was like, "Oh yeah, if you want to read Nightwing, boom, Tom Taylor, Nightwing, do it. You're gonna love it." And so I did it. I picked up Nightwing from Leaping into the Light, right where Tom Taylor starts his run, and it was so good. I was way back in. Like this is probably where I was officially kicking it off. All thanks to Nightwing. I'm a big like superhero comic book fan, specifically Batman. So it's not a huge surprise that Nightwing got me back in, but I hadn't read Nightwing before, so it was a little bit surprising. This was awesome. It was so well done. I don't know what else Tom Taylor has done. Like I haven't looked into that and read more of his stuff, but I loved what he did with this character. Fully fleshed it out for me. Like I again, I haven't read his stuff before this, or like Nightwing stuff before this, but I'm like he's up there in top superheroes for me now, just because of how much fun I had with this. I knew Dick Grayson, right? Like he's a good Robin. I like him, but this is my first foray into him as Nightwing, and the artwork also in this book by who is it, Bruno Redondo, really really good. It really kind of like experimental at times too. There's one issue that's, I don't even know if there's any words in it. It's just kind of like the whole thing was just like you're looking at a building and you just kind of take that wall off and it just shows Nightwing like moving through the building, kind of like a side scroller, like a video game kind of thing. Really really cool, like a platformer kind of deal. Really really cool, like interesting. I haven't seen that before or since. It was awesome. Then there's another issue later on. I think it's not till like volume 5 of this. That's like a POV, like Nightwing's perspective. And so like you're seeing his hands like as he runs and things like that. That was also really cool. I love that. Again, I don't know if there were a ton of words even in that issue, but it was really cool. So they do a few things like that I just like, I hadn't seen that before, but awesome. I loved that. Just a really fun time, and it got me way back into superheroes. So with this, I'm fully back in. I'm wanting to read a lot of this. There were some like tie-in events that I started reading, like it goes into Titans, and then there was also like Beast Wars, I think is where I dropped off. I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have tried to do the tie-ins. I should have just stuck with Nightwing, because Beast Wars is where I dropped off, like I said, and I haven't gone back to Nightwing since. But I want to. I keep not doing it because I feel like I should wrap that up, but I don't really care about the events that are happening there. But once I was getting into that and I was kind of getting bored of Beast Wars, then I started dabbling in other things and I started reading, recent releases. I'm pretty much up to date on Absolute Batman. I'm up to date on Matt Fraction's Batman that's going on. I read, what did I read? Some of Batwoman, and then I was confused, so I went back and I read Batwoman Elegy. Just kind of going through a ton of different things. Bleeding Hearts was one that I read, and that was really cool. I was really liking that. It's kind of like it's a zombie story, but it's from the perspective of a zombie, but that zombie is also like kind of turning back into a human, or like they have a heart that beats and emotions and like feelings, and that's a really good one. I'm having a lot of fun with that one. I started reading Invincible. I'm not nearly current on that. I've got the compendium behind me over here. I am this far in, like 20 something issues in, but having a really good time with that. So I'm having fun. I'm reading, this and that here and there, little things, a lot of what I mentioned, and then a few other things, and I'm having fun. Sam Harrison, again, who's the one who recommended Nightwing, he was like, all you got to do is pretend you're 12, like read comic books like you did when you were 12, which when you're 12, you walk into a comic book store, you're like, that's a cool cover, pick it up and you read it, right? Like, so reckless abandon. So I was doing that. I was just picking up what I wanted at whatever issue I could find. And it was just fun. Along the way, though, I did make a discovery, and that discovery is Daniel Warren Johnson. I read Do a Powerbomb somewhere in the midst of all that, and I loved this. This was like interdimensional wrestling competition. It's wackadoo. It's crazy. I don't know. I don't know what was going on here, but not only is it super fun and like the art is stunning in this. I love the way that this guy Daniel Warren Johnson does his artwork. But then there's also a ton of heart. Like, it's not only is it a wrestling competition, right? Like I said, an interdimensional kind of wrestling competition, but it's like the main character's goal is to like bring back their dead mother, right? Which is, you gotta read it to find out how that all works, but there's a lot of heart there. Like, there's a lot of emotion that goes into that, as you can imagine, and it was handled really well. Like, there were some really serious emotional beats here. So I picked up more Daniel Warren Johnson. I got Murder Falcon, and that was also really fun. Same kind of thing. Like, that's like heavy metal being used to battle monsters, right? Which is another like crazy concept, but also handled really well. Like, it was really fun, and the art, again, fantastic. And then again, really heavy emotional story beats. That one's dealing more with like terminal illness and like, big relationship issues and things like that. Like, so that's, again, really, really strong. And then later in the year, just sticking with Daniel Warren Johnson, I picked up that bad boy. This is Extremity. This is one of the best graphic novels I have ever read. And I've read a good amount at this point. This was fantastic. If you read anything that I mentioned from this video, make it Extremity, please. It's so good. And it was better than all the other Daniel Warren Johnson that I've read too. I mean, I guess I've read 3 other things: Do a Powerbomb, Murder Falcon, and then this Wonder Woman thing that he did, which was fine for reasons that are not his fault. It was fine. Whatever. It needed more time, really, is all it is. Anyway, this is what I want to talk about for a second. The world was interesting. The characters were like fantastically explored, I thought. And again, just so much heart. This is one of those stories where I feel like they did a really good job, not being like, oh, these are the good guys, these are the bad guys. Instead, they were like, these are the good guys that we're following, and these are the people that they consider bad guys. But are they actually, like, are they really in the wrong? Or, are the motivations on both sides kind of justified in their own way, which was really interesting. And so you're following them, but kind of like, I get why you're pissed. Like, it's really interesting. It handled really well for the entire final issue of this book here. Actual chills. Like, I could feel them, see them on my arms. It was just, I haven't felt like that reading something in a very long time. Do yourself a favor, do me a favor, and pick this one up. If you're gonna pick up anything, pick this one up. Daniel Warren Johnson is definitely an auto-buy author for me going forward. He already was before I read Extremity, because I really did love Do a Powerbomb and Murder Falcon, but this really solidified it. He's got a new one coming out soon. It's like, I don't know, like Women with Chainsaws or something like that. I'm very excited for that. I don't know what soon is, but at some point, it looks fun. Nightwing definitely helped get me back into the superhero comic books, and things like Daniel Warren Johnson and all of his work just really helped propel me in all the other directions. Like the more obscure, like just kind of like, where do they think of that kind of thing? I've been like seeking those out now. I think they're just so much fun, or they can be so much fun, or they can be so painful, or they can be so emotional, or they can be scary. There's so much out there, and authors like Daniel Warren Johnson help to remind us of that sometimes. And then at around the same point that I picked up Extremity, I got put on to the Energon Universe. Now, the Energon Universe is an interesting one, because I knew what it was going into it. Like I was excited because I knew what it was, but it might be fun to go into this without knowing any of that. So what I'm going to say here is read Void Rivals. Void Rivals is where you should start with the Energon Universe, but don't dig into that too much. Just pick up Void Rivals and see what you think. At the end of that first issue, I think, or volume, I think the first issue, there's like a little bit of a tease at like, oh, this is going to happen. And then you're like, oh, wait, what? And then you chase after that thread and you're just like, boom. It's so cool. If you're anything like me and you had a childhood like my own in any way. And now I'll say, if you don't want to know more, go to the next timestamp. You have a few more seconds to do that. Otherwise, I'm going to go into what this actually is about. Are you gone? No? Sticking around? All right, sounds good. Energon Universe is Transformers meets G.I. Joe. Why? I don't know. I really wasn't even like the biggest G.I. Joe fan or the biggest Transformers fan. Like I like G.I. Joe. I like Transformers. Those are cool things. I've never considered reading their comic books, but they're really good. Like they don't have to be G.I. Joe and Transformers, I guess, for them to like carry these stories, but they just happen to be. So they're kind of laced in a little bit of nostalgia for me. And then seeing them kind of cross over is just really interesting. It's a really fun way to read through this comic book too, or like this universe, by going between Void Rivals, which is like a new thing, and then Transformers, which is like a new take on an old thing, and then the G.I. Joe stuff, which is the same thing. And there's like these little mini series, like you follow Duke for 5 issues, and that was way better than it had any right to be. And then there's a Cobra Commando one, and there's several other like mini series. Like you kind of got to look into a reading order for this, or I would recommend that you do, or you could just go a volume of Void Rivals, a volume of Transformers, a volume of G.I. Joe, and then rinse and repeat, throwing in a mini series here and there. They're like these 5-issue mini series that they do, but really good. And Daniel Warren Johnson is also, he's writing the Transformers one, which I should have mentioned because that would have been a better segue from that last thing into this, but whatever. It's been really fun. I haven't read it in a month or two. Like I haven't picked up an issue in that. I'm about to read more of the Void Rivals stuff, and then I get back into, I think, Transformers. I'm very excited. I haven't done it yet for no real reason, other than the next thing that I'm going to talk about, which is revisiting an old favorite of mine. I've always been a big superhero guy, and I've been typically more into the DC characters. Marvel, I mean, obviously they have Spider-Man, and Spider-Man is, top tier in my brain, but I really haven't read all that much Spider-Man, and I really haven't read all that much Spider-Man that I love. I just like him as a character, and his movies are great, and the games are fantastic, but DC really has the characters that I love, specifically Batman. I'm a big Batman fan. There's one right there. There's several up on the shelf up there. Big fan. And so I wanted to go back into that. And so I just kind of recently, I did like a lot of digging online, and I put together what I think I'll make another video on, which is just like something that I consider to be like a definitive Batman reading list. And so I'm working my way through that. It's a lot of rereads, but it's also some like classic stories that are new to me. Like I just read The Long Halloween for the first time recently, and it was great. So I'm working my way through that, and I think that has also really helped me. So if you want to get back into reading comic books, revisiting an old flame is like a really good way to do it. I'm having a lot of fun like rereading these stories, and then also just spending more time with this character. I'm really excited to get back to the Court of Owls kind of timeline, or like that chunk of the story, because I love that. I kind of own it in 2 different formats. I got the big boy, and I've got the DC compact up there too, which you can't see because it's far away, but it's there. I'm reading Dark Victory right now, because like I said, I just read Long Halloween, and I'm just having so much fun. So yeah, that's also a good option for you. It doesn't have to be Batman, but just something that you like. Read more of that, or revisit something that you used to love, and either reread it or just explore more that character has that you haven't read. It's just fun to spend time with characters that you know you've had a good time with before. I don't know how comprehensive this is as like a subject for a video. I'm not really giving you like tips on how to get back into reading comic books. I'm just telling you what I did, specifically the things that I read. I've read a lot more than this, than what I've mentioned in today's video this year in terms of comic books, and I will be reading a lot more in this year to come. So I'm excited to have this back in the rotation, just comic books as a whole back in my rotation. I'm trying to read like an issue a day. I fail at that most days recently, but that's what I'm working on, which is a good way to go about it. Because again, you can read an issue in like 15 minutes. It's a really easy hobby to reintroduce into your life or introduce into your life for the first time. If you are not a comic book reader, I highly recommend that you check it out. There is something out there for everyone. I think maybe that would have been a better video, like suggestions on what you should read if you want to get into comic books. Maybe I'll do that another time, but for today, this is what you get. That's what I had for you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, I know this is 2 in a row. That's like a little bit different from my typical content, but like I said recently, I just kind of want to talk more broadly than just the books side of it all. Didn't go super well with my last video, but that's fine. I'm still gonna keep trying to do that sort of thing going forward. Probably just stick to like books, comic books, and children's books. Anyway, I'm rambling now. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.